It's been almost 10 years since we've seen any remnant of the Enclave, and over 11 years since we saw the Enclave as a proper faction. Their future in the wasteland is uncertain to say the least. Even when we wind the clocks back 250 years in Fallout 76, we only find ghosts of a long-dead Appalachian Enclave. But what if there was a solution to both of these problems? We already know that the Enclave utilized various bunkers around America. And if we're talking about nuclear bunkers in the United States, there's 4 that are going to be at the top of the list. So let's go through this list and look at the state of them in the Fallout universe. Raven Rock, destroyed by 2277. Project Greek Island, or the White Spring Bunker, unknown fate after 2103. The Cheyenne Mountain Complex, if we're basing this off Fallout tactics, it's under Brotherhood control by 2198. If we don't base it off tactics, we still know from Fallout 2 that the NORAD system is offline at the Cheyenne Mountain by 2242. Indicating there's a problem with the facility. That brings us to the last one. The only one that hasn't been in a Fallout game yet, and what I consider to be one of the best ways for the Enclave to return. This location is of course the Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center. The reason this facility is the perfect way for the Enclave to return is, like the other facilities mentioned previously, Mount Weather has a bunker designed for continuity of government. Mount Weather is incredibly large as well. It consists of 2 parts, the above ground pictured here, and the underground area. The only number I've been able to find on the size of the underground area is 600,000 square feet. I also looked at the size of Raven Rock, and there was 3 sources for that size. One in a 1991 newspaper claiming it was 265,000 square feet. Another from Garrett Graff, the author of the Raven Rock book. He claimed it was 900,000 square feet in size. Then the third being from a 2006 newspaper, which is also one of the sources for the Mount Weather size. This article claimed Raven Rock has 700,000 feet of usable floor space. It's 2 against 1, pointing towards Raven Rock being bigger than Mount Weather. But for simplicity, we'll assume that 900,000 square feet is correct. So if these numbers are correct, the Mount Weather bunker is 2/3 of the size of the Raven Rock mountain complex. Now, before I get to the main reason why Mount Weather is so good, I think I should also mention that in real life, the Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center is a command center for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. This organization was created in 1979, so it's unlikely it exists in the Fallout universe, but what I find intriguing is, one of the most popular conspiracy theories about FEMA is that they're a secret shadow government, and when a disaster on the scale of, say, nuclear war happens, FEMA would supposedly reveal themselves as the true government and take control of the country. Sound familiar? The main point of interest, however, is the location of Mount Weather. It's located in the state of Virginia, but it's very close to the border of West Virginia. In fact, the Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center is less than 25 miles, 40 kilometers, from the town of Harper's Ferry, the very same Harper's Ferry that lies near the edge of the map in Fallout 76. It may not seem likely that we will be able to visit this place if it's outside the map, but after Wasteland is released, the Bethesda devs stated they were looking to expand Fallout 76's playable area. It's possible this means just straight up expanding the borders of the map. Given how close Mount Weather is to Harper's Ferry, it would no doubt be within the new borders of the map. What I think they're most likely referring to is the Expeditions feature coming with the Fractured Steel update. These are speculated to be repeatable missions that will take you to a small playable world space outside of the Fallout 76 map. This is a perfect setup if Bethesda decides to add the Enclave to 76 in the future. The mission part of it may be used as an introduction to the location, but after that it could be visited anytime. This would mean that the entire world space it's contained in would be instanced, allowing much more variety for story gameplay. Apart from Mount Weather being the best way for the Enclave to return in Fallout 76, it's also a great way for the Enclave to return in the next Fallout. Because if the Enclave are introduced to Fallout 76 and Bethesda makes it clear in-game that the Enclave are using Mount Weather as a permanent base in 2103 when Fallout 76 takes place, by 2277 when Fallout 3 takes place, it's possible it would still be in use. Meaning that after Raven Rock was destroyed and Adams Air Force Base was taken over by the Brotherhood, the Enclave still could be at Mount Weather. Obviously, making these sorts of claims raises some questions, and I'll try to answer all the major ones soon. But for now, I just want to discuss when this could happen. Pete Hines has gone on record saying that Fallout 76 will be supported for years to come, and with the Brotherhood returning in early 2021, it wouldn't be crazy to think that the Enclave could be introduced in early 2022. Would the Brotherhood and the Enclave fight each other? It would probably actually fix the lore if the Enclave did destroy the Brotherhood in Appalachia, but I don't see that happening. I do expect the Enclave to have a DLC after the Brotherhood though, as Bethesda has been sitting on some Enclave content for a long time now. If you think all of this is entirely possible, then you can click off this video right now. If you still have questions about how Mount Weather can fit in without contradicting any established lore, then continue watching. First, I think we need to look at whether Mount Weather could even exist in the Fallout universe. As many of you know, Fallout is set in an alternate future, meaning that it's set in the future of course, but the timeline is different to ours. While there are some things that were different before World War II, the point when Fallout's timeline started to noticeably diverge from ours is after World War II. It's a classic case of the butterfly effect. Something as simple as the transistor being invented decades later wouldn't matter to most people, and the world would still function mostly the same. But after a certain amount of time, the change would catch up with the timeline and would start changing more and more. Like how the computers in Fallout are so crappy, and I don't think I have to explain how much computers play a part in today's society. So the further it is after World War II, the more the world has changed. But for a short period after World War II, the world would be very similar, seemingly up until the early 60s, judging from Fallout's art style. So this allows Raven Rock to exist, as it started construction in 1951. Mount Weather started construction 3 years later in 1954, and it may seem like that's getting closer to when the two timelines are noticeably different. However, we know the Cheyenne Mountain Complex exists in Fallout, and that started construction in 1961. Of course, it is possible that the dates of construction may be slightly different, but not by much. Considering that out of the 4 bunkers mentioned in this video, Mount Weather was the second to be constructed, and the two built after it do exist in the Fallout universe, it would almost be impossible for Mount Weather to not be in Fallout. The next problem with Mount Weather is, why have we never heard about it? In general, we never really know about Enclave bases. In Fallout 2, we're searching for the Enclave's main base because they've taken the Arroyo villages. In Fallout 3, we find out about Raven Rock when we get taken there by the Enclave. Adams Air Force Base is only discovered by the Brotherhood because they were looking for Enclave bases. All of these locations wouldn't have been discovered if the Enclave hadn't made anyone aware of their presence. In Fallout 76, when they operated in the shadows, no one outside of the bunker knew of their existence. Some people had heard about a bunker underneath the White Spring Hotel, but they didn't know who was in it. There is also two specific cases I want to address that seemingly should have mentioned Mount Weather. The first being in Fallout 76 in one of the White Spring Bunker surveillance recordings, where it says the following.
White Spring, automated recording, 1.1.5. Note, audio compromised. Reconstruction attempted.
No use. Still nothing. And you tried both channels? We should have heard something on Alpha or Omega. At least some baseline signal.
Raven Rock gave us no response. We've been sending the encryption code for the last 48 hours.
What about Poseidon? They should have had some sort of answer.
Nothing. Repeated attempts at contact have no response.
It sounds like it's a hard line. Some sort of problem with Alpha, like it was cut.
I'm not sending anyone out to verify the structural integrity during the storm, but it was designed to handle this.
Well, the other option we have to consider is that they can answer. They just won't.
The brass would never allow that. Our procedures were clear.
Well, fuck. Either way, we're on our own for now.
In this recording, it seems like the Enclave officers are trying to contact other Enclave installations. So why don't they mention Mount Weather here? Well, to be blunt, attempting contact with only 2 installations is idiocy, and we know there's more Enclave installations, as well as regular government bunkers like Cheyenne Mountain, although there is a possibility that's an Enclave bunker as well. This recording is labeled as 115. Recording 116 is corrupted and can't be played. So the next playable recording is 117. This recording is of Secretary Eckhart announcing the death of the Secretary of the Treasury. He also announces that the White Spring Bunker being cut off from the President and Raven Rock, not just the President, leaves them without leadership. So the most likely reason that the oil rig and Raven Rock were contacted first is because, like I said in my previous video, they're the command points for the Enclave. The rest of the Enclave installations, like Mount Weather, were likely contacted later, unsuccessfully of course, and this would be recorded in 116 if it weren't corrupted. The last thing to cover is why we don't see Mount Weather in Fallout 3. As I explained before, Enclave bases are only found when they are actively searched for, so in most circumstances that answer works. But in the Broken Steel DLC, the Brotherhood of Steel does search for the Enclave's new headquarters, and that leads them to Adams Air Force Base. Well, the Brotherhood basically just assumes Adams Air Force Base is the Enclave's headquarters. The whole Broken Steel DLC consists of the Brotherhood tracking the Enclave's communications. First, they find small Enclave outposts, then they track the communications back to the satellite relay station. Then they take that over and track communications back to Adams. The Brotherhood then proceeds to destroy the mobile base crawler. If Mount Weather was communicating with the crawler, they wouldn't know. I should also mention that you can find orders from Enclave High Command at Adams Air Force Base, yet there doesn't seem to be any sort of clear leaders at Adams or the crawler. And that is the end of the video. If you have any more questions about Mount Weather, feel free to ask. I try to read every comment. And while you're at that, why not consider liking, or if you haven't already, subscribe. I'll see you next time.